Hello, listeners. We're back. Back at the Fireside FPL pod. And what do we bring you, Phil?
We bring you fantasy stats and football chats, but for this specific pod, we're bringing you the fantasy stats.
Absolutely.
If you're bang average, you're bottom of the league, you want to stay consistently good, listen to us. Watch the video, like the video.
I'm bang average and bottom of the league.
I know, but
literally
because you don't listen to yourself. If you listen to yourself, you'd be top of the league.
I want to ask how you're doing, Dave. You're doing, Phil, because I don't know. I feel like Dave's kind of happy. He's got a new coach coming in. Phil might be kind of sad because Ballon d'Or wasn't exactly what he wanted. But how you boys doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, not good because my team's still bad, but
true.
My all-time favorite player is now temporarily our coach, so I feel good about that.
Let the people know who that is in case they don't.
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
There you go. Philip, how are you feeling today?
I probably had the worst weekend possible. So, as we all know, Madrid lost at home 4-0 against Barca. It's tough when your star forward scores all the goals when he was offsides, but doesn't score the goals that he was onside for.
I did see that.
Pretty unfortunate, but last time Barca beat Madrid 4-0 in the Bernabeu. Madrid won La Liga and the Champions League, so got to hold on to that hope. And yeah, the Ballon d'Or is obviously rigged. The only thing I'll say, we'll maybe talk about it in another episode, but explain to me how Foden was Manchester City's best player, and I think he won Premier League Player of the Year.
He did last year, yeah.
But somehow Rodri wins the Ballon d'Or, so it's just FIFA being anti-Madrid, pro-City, and Barca. So
definitely, That's definitely what's happening.
That's my breakdown for you.
All right, and with that, we're gonna hop right in. So, Dave, take us through the transfers.
Transfer market. So, the guy that is the most transferred in player this week, which is again going to come as a shock, Brian Mbeumo. What else is there really to say? He's one of the most valuable players in fantasy. On a personal note, I almost bought him this week and transferred him in, but I'm trying to catch you guys, so I can't just have the same players as you. So I didn't.
This is true.
And then after seeing you captain him and have 30 points, I kind of wish I did now. But anyway, just some of the transfer-ins. Josko Guardiola, we talked about him last week. I'm still recommending him. Especially, I think 50% of his transfer-ins are people still getting rid of Gabriel after his injury. Yet to see how long he's going to be out, though. There did sound like there was some positive news today. Arteta doesn't think it's very serious, so that's a good sign, but still recommending him. Chris Wood getting transferred in because apparently he is just going to score every game, which is cool.
He's so good.
One guy that was interesting to me on the list, Mo Salah, Cole Palmer are down there. Those ones are pretty self-explanatory, but Saka's on the list of most transferred in players. He's 5th, and I believe he was in the list of most transferred out guys last week because we talked about Arsenal's schedule coming up is pretty difficult. That Liverpool game was the first one. And so it got me thinking because I've been wrestling with this concept, pretty much the whole season. We talk a lot about fixtures and, obviously avoiding people in tough matchups, but I always debate, I steal a fantasy football concept. I always tell people just start your studs and don't overthink it. And I've been well, does that apply as much to FPL? And so I've been trying to do this balancing act of and Saka's a good example. He had a super hard schedule, but he's a stud. And it's do I stick with him through these tough matchups or do I play the fixtures and switch him out for someone else at a similar price? And so I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that? How do you guys go about making that decision?
That's a tough one because, like you said, fantasy football, American football is, you play a lot of the matchups, right? If you have 2 quarterbacks available, one of them goes up against the best defense and he's the better quarterback, you may end up playing a worse quarterback who's against the worst defense, right? It just makes sense. But I think in FPL, for me, a lot of it depends on the position. I think so. If I have a goalkeeper who's going up against Liverpool versus a worse goalkeeper who's going up against Everton, I'll probably switch goalkeepers. But if it's a Saka, a Haaland, these top tier offensive guys, I tend to leave them in.
Yeah, I just Holland is probably matchup proof. I mean, you're not bringing him in and out because he's so expensive.
But even so, I feel like the drop off of these really good players to the guys under them, unless you're getting lucky on a weekly, like on that week, it's a pretty big drop off. Unless you get lucky and pick someone that has a crazy game that no one expected, it's a big drop off between some of these guys.
I agree. I think because of the price points of these studs, you really can't afford to replace them with someone else and expect them to do that much better.
Like I was thinking, like Saka as the example. We talked about like bringing in Son for him.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that that was before we knew Son was going to be out, but like they're a pretty similar price, and you can probably switch them back in a couple weeks because they're probably still going to be a similar price. Like I don't know how to if let's say you did switch out Saka for Son again. I know he didn't play, but like I just don't know like if that is like I'll use a corporate term best practice, like to switch out your high priced player for another one when they run into fixtures like that, or I don't know if I have that balancing act correct yet, is all I'm saying. So
I hear you on that. I think we're going to learn that as we go. Maybe some people have already developed that strategy. For me, I'm still at pretty much a play the best player when it comes to the offensive positions. But like I said, goalie, I switch matchups, defense, same thing.
Yeah.
But with offensive players, especially forwards, because they don't get any negatives against them, I just stick with the best ones.
Yeah. Yeah, probably depends on your squad situation too, if you need help in other areas. But that's good. I'm not totally crazy for wrestling over this all the time. But the last guy in the transfer ins was El Matador, one of your spotlights last week, Johan Visa.
Let's go.
Nice work.
That was a good one.
Shout out Phil, baby.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But a lot of people that are bringing him in are jumping off some of those mid-priced, budgety forwards like DCL, Dominic Solanke. So he's a nice option there again if you need to save some money. But I want to move over to the transfer outs because there is some interesting ones over there. Gabriel, again, is the most transferred out player with his injury coming up. That one makes a lot of sense. Son is in the most transferred out guys. And so there was kind of another positive injury update on him because Ainge said it wasn't really a re-aggravation. He was just kind of sore. But it sounds like they're going to sit him out in their midweek game, and he should be good to go for the weekend. So interesting to see him on that list, I would assume, if I take a look here. Yeah, it's a lot of people getting Salah, Palmer, Saka into their teams.
Yep. Don't want to mess with an injury when you can replace him with a similarly talented player. Plus, Tottenham did not look great this week.
No, they did not.
So
that was a bit of a surprise because they've been playing really well.
Yeah, and the best defender we've talked about a bunch. He's the one who kind of made the mistake.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Van de Veen. That's how you say it. Yeah, he made a mistake. So I mean, he had a good game, but he made that mistake. So not a good look.
Mickey Van der Bean.
Yeah. What? Did I say it wrong?
I think you just developed a new nickname for him, which I'm a big fan of.
Van der Veen.
Close enough.
We got Diogo Jota getting moved out. Recent injury update on him. He's going to be out till at least the international break. But the one guy I wanted to mention, Luis Diaz. And that was another good call from you, Phil, because last week we talked about him. You said if he plays in their midweek game.
I'm patting my back.
But they had a Champions League game. If he doesn't start in that midweek game, he's probably going to start on the weekend. And that's exactly what happened. Didn't play a full 90 minutes, but I believe he did get to the 60-minute mark, which is good. So they do have, I think, Brighton in a cup game in the middle of this week, and then they play Never Losing next week.
Yeah, well, never winning, never losing. They're just tying. So I wish we were on video already because the look on Phil's face when you gave him 2 props in a row there, he was like, wow.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
But that's what we bring on this pod. We bring quality.
Absolutely, we do.
Yeah. I mean, same as the Liverpool attacking players. And,
absolutely.
If you're using those guys, just keep an eye on what they do in the middle of the week because that'll probably clue you in. Might be a little different now with Jota and Chiesa being hurt. Like, I think Mo Salah's probably safe to assume
He's the
going
only
to
safe
start
one.
every game. But just keep an eye on what they do with Luis Diaz, since he's probably the next most commonly owned player for them. But and so some of the other guys getting transferred out, just to finish this up, are Havertz, Dominic Solanke, Ollie Watkins. A lot of those transfers, the players they're replacing them with are some of the mid-priced options that are playing really well right now. We've talked about a lot of them. Chris Wood, Yohan Visa, Raul Jimenez. And if I want to hop over into our roundtable now, the guy I wanted to talk about, Matheus Cunha from Wolves. And so he's been playing well of late. He's got 3 goals in his last 5 games. He's at $6.5 million, so he kind of falls in that same price point as those guys I just mentioned. And he has a really nice upcoming schedule: Palace, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton. So should be some good attacking opportunities for Wolves. And so I have to say, I wanted to talk about him because we've dove into a lot of players, and this was probably like one of the more interesting ones that I dove into. And so there's like a lot of good and some bad. There's some good and some very clear good and bad with him. And it's like he's got 41 points, which is tied with Raul Jimenez for 7th overall amongst forwards. He's very creative. He's actually at 2.29 expected assists on the season, which is 2nd amongst all forwards.
Wow.
And it kind of makes sense. So he gets deployed in a lot of different ways. Like, he doesn't always start up top. Like, sometimes he starts up there with Strand Larson. Sometimes, like, I think he started on the left. He started on the right. He's played as a number 10. So they kind of move him around. And that lines up with a lot of his underlying stats, because he has 41 total crosses and 11 successful crosses. That blows. No other forward is even remotely close.
I was just gonna say,
to that.
Who's the next closest?
I don't know, but it's someone with like 12.
Could be like a left or right back, honestly.
And so he has 5 big chances created, which is 1st overall amongst forwards. He somehow has no assists yet, so I expect that to change with those numbers. Some of his other stats are really solid too. He's got 27 total shots, which is 3rd. He has 15 attempted assists, which is also far and away 1st overall amongst forwards, 10 shots inside the box. So he's got some good numbers under there. Now I want to get to the bad ones. His expected goals for the year is 2.35, and that is 17th amongst forwards. Not a great number. He only has 2 big chances for, which is pretty low when you look at everybody else. And so just to dive into that, in game week 2 where he scored, that was almost half of his expected goals just came in one game. Now it was just over 1 in that game. And so in game weeks 5 to 9, he has 3 goals but 0 big chances, and only 0.71 expected goals over the last 5 games. And so pretty clearly he's kind of overperforming based on the chances that Wolves are creating. And just to look at Wolves a little bit, they only have 9 big chances as a team, and I said Cunha has created 5 of them, and Strand Larson has 2 of them. So that doesn't really leave a lot for their midfielders. And so I looked at it. They don't have a single midfielder over 0.35 expected assists for the whole season.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
And so just like to compare to some other teams, City has 8, Man United has 7, Southampton has 5. 5 guys with more than 0.35 expected assists.
Wow, that's a pretty big. That's a pretty enlightening stat right there, actually.
So it's a little weird, and that's why it was very interesting to dive into him, because I've seen his name, on the stats pages a lot, and wondered if he was a good option. So I think like there's some good and bad there, like, right, because he's kind of their driving force. So he pretty much plays 90 minutes every game. He's going to be consistently involved because, again, him and Strand Larson are the offense basically. And so, it's been interesting. Like, do you want him over like Raul Jimenez, Chris Wood, Yohan Visa, guys in that same category? But I think he fits into that group really well. I think I would take Raul Jimenez over him just because he's just been so good. I think he's right there with like Chris Wood, Yohan Visa, especially Wood is a little bit dinged up. It sounds like he should be fine, but just something to keep an eye on. But he has kind of a more diverse, balanced profile than a lot of the forwards. He's obviously, more creatively involved with his assists, but doesn't quite have the underlying expected goals numbers of some of those other guys we've mentioned. And so I think I'd take Raul Jimenez over him. I think I would take him over Chris Wood coming up because Wood has 3 of his next 5 games are pretty difficult. He's got Newcastle, Arsenal, and City. Just the guy I wanted to highlight because I'm considering having him on my own team because I have to catch you guys, and
Yes, you do.
I don't know if you're going to be using
Good luck with that.
Cunha coming up, but definitely an interesting guy to consider for your forward line.
Yep, that's a great deep dive, Dave, because like you said, you are now in a spot where many people might be, that they have to find difference makers that other people don't have. So you really digging deep into these guys is going to help a lot of people that have to do the same thing you're doing. So that was good. That was a really good deep dive. I can go next. I don't really want to because my second guy, I don't have the stats like you just brought. So don't hate me, people.
I didn't expect to have that much intel from looking at Wolves.
Well, that's why Dave's our number guy.
Dave's number guy.
Let's remember that.
Well, I don't. It's not that I don't have stats because I didn't do the research. It's because the guy I'm coming with really doesn't have a lot of stats to talk about. So, guy I'm going with is Kelleher, the goalie, the replacement goalie for Liverpool. Alisson, he has been out for I think the last 2 games, and the Liverpool just came out a couple days ago, I think like 4 days ago, and they said hamstring, it's coming along, but he's minimum out 3 more weeks, and we know how hamstrings can be. I doubt Liverpool's looking to rush him back as fast as possible, so could be more than 3 weeks. So he just played against Chelsea and Arsenal, right? People might look at Kelleher's numbers and say, he got 2 points and then he got 1 point. Not great. Well, he played. We know Chelsea's offense is a solid offense, and we know who Arsenal is. They're one of the best teams in the Premier League. But when you go back to the only other game he played this year, that was against Bournemouth, he had 9 points. That's a pretty good game, right? So to judge him on these last 2 games, I don't think is fair. And he is a good enough backup to get points from one of the best teams in the EPL. So for me, it's like I'm not necessarily putting all my faith in a backup goalie. I think he's serviceable. He's no Alisson, but you're putting your faith in a top 2 defense and a top 3 team and an incredible schedule. Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen to the schedule. This is the reason that
I'm listening.
This is the reason you go get them right now.
We're listening.
They're playing against Brighton at home. Then they get Aston Villa home. Then they get Southampton away. They play Man City. Probably don't want to play them for that one. But then they get Newcastle away and Everton away. That's a solid schedule when we're talking about a guy on the best team. If that's Alisson we're talking about, everyone's like, oh, my God, got to get him for this stretch, right? So, good.
No, I was going to say ties into when we talked about Konate a few weeks back, how Liverpool just has an amazing schedule or stretch of fixtures. So anyone on their defense, their goalie, to your point, Sean, is a really solid pickup right now.
He's cheap.
He's
4.4 mil.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that cheaper than Sels? I'm assuming.
Yeah, but
I have that for you.
A decimal or 2.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Seriously, I'm sorry.
It's a great point.
No, I'm really sorry.
That's exactly what I want to say. I'm
so sorry.
Get this. He's projected 11th in projected points in the entire FPL game. Not in goalies.
Oh.
He is the 11th projected player over the next 6 game weeks at 26.1 points.
Damn.
Seriously?
That's right behind Alexander Arnold at 26.3 and right above Eze at 26.1. And I will have to assume Alisson would have been right in that spot, if not a little higher, had he been healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Ederson, who we know is the second best FPL goalie, or at least people consider him points aside, he's down a little bit further at 24. So he's right there. So you got to assume Alisson would have been up there, but that's crazy to me. 11th in FPL.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In terms of goalies, number 1, obviously above Ederson, who has 24.7. And the difference in price is ridiculous. So that's the real kicker, right? Is overall, he of the top 13 goalies projected points, he's the only one at that price tag of 4.4. To find someone at that price tag, you have to go to the 14th highest projected points goalie in Dean Henderson at 19.5. So, for me, it's an absolute steal. I think if you have a transfer, or even if you want to take a -4, I'm at a point where you have to go get him, at least for the next 3 weeks, right? Pick him up for 3 weeks, play him in those 3 weeks for 4.4 million. That's crazy. And then, once Alisson comes back, replace him, right? And again, it's like, it's one of those things where if Haaland got hurt, right, I'm not replacing the next guy in Man City's lineup for Haaland. They're not the same player, but this is a goalie we're talking about. So even if he's not as good as Alisson, like I said, you're trusting Liverpool, you're trusting the matchups, you're trusting the defense. I think he's probably going to be top 3 performing goalies for that price over the next 3 weeks. So for me, I'm going to transfer him in.
Yeah.
It's a great breakdown.
Don't overthink it. Save a mil.
Exactly. Don't
Save a mil.
overthink it. Save a bunch of money. Get the guy who's projected the most. It's really that simple. This opportunity doesn't come often.
No?
Thought you were going to quote Eminem there. Comes once in a lifetime.
Mom's spaghetti.
Yeah.
All right, Phil, who you got?
Who do I got? So I got your boy Marcus Rashford, Dave.
Oh, jeez.
Now, I'm not going to go too crazy about him because he really doesn't have any stats at the moment because Man U doesn't have any offensive stats.
We hate scoring goals.
You hate scoring goals. You hate playing good soccer or football. And overall, you just,
Apparently
suck.
you hate your coach, too.
But with the bald man's firing or sacking, we're talking about the honeymoon phase. It is the most powerful phase in football. And I think someone like Rashford, who Van Nistelrooy likes or loves, could shine here. Now, he's 6.9 million, really hasn't proven anything. Their upcoming fixtures is kind of a mix. They have some easy ones, but also have some tough ones coming up. But I think he's a guy you could keep your eye on, and if he starts performing with Van Nistelrooy, he could be a solid pick for 6.9 million because everyone knows his potential. So I'm going to throw him out there as a keep an eye out for him because it could be turning around for the Red Devils.
Yeah, I mean, you call it the honeymoon phase. I call it the anybody but him phase. Like we've fired a lot of coaches, and guys always kind of get a boost, after they fire somebody. But yeah, I mean, they play Chelsea, who you said is kind of their games can be a little chaotic. But then Leicester, Ipswich, Everton. So that's a pretty good schedule.
And with Chelsea, we've talked about it many times. They're a chaotic team in terms of I could see that game ending 4-3 or 4-2, or.
That would imply we put the ball in the net 2 to 3 times.
You will, because now you have a...
I like how you assume you're just going to lose. You didn't say 4 times, so you just assume they're not going to win.
I don't know if you've watched us try to kick the ball into the net. We can't do that 4 times.
That's a sad attitude, my friend.
I mean, Madrid's learning from them, so I'm in the same boat.
What do you want from me, Sean?
But yeah, Marcus Rashford, keep an eye out for him. Could be a steal, could be a bust, but it's always fun giving him a chance.
Yeah. All right, Dave.
All right, so I have a trivia question for you guys.
Okay.
Trivia! Among defenders, Trent Alexander-Arnold leads the league in expected goal involvements, so XG plus XA at 3.07. Who is second?
Wait, what was the question? I was dancing.
Second behind Alexander-Arnold, who's the second most involved defender in XG and XA.
Oh,
combined.
It has to be the guy from Wolves that everyone loves, but he just gets yellow cards left and right.
Did you look at my notes?
No, I was working a lot today, so I didn't.
It just shows the demands on top of it.
I was looking. I forget his name. It's
Rayan Ait-Nuri.
Yeah, everyone's like super high on him. So good. Well, not everyone, but I was looking at him too. But you can go for it. He's second, 2.74. He's also second in expected goals among defenders at 1.62. Only Gabriel is ahead of him there. But so I actually put my money where my mouth is on this one and transferred him in before game week 9, and he scored. Ooh. So he's at 4.6 million. He's only 6.5% owned right now. So lately he's been buoyed. He's got goals in 3 of his last 4 games, so that always helps. But so I do like him, and Phil says everybody likes him, and his ownership is on the rise. But he pretty much always plays 90 minutes. Like it's him and Semedo, star on the left and the right. Whether they play 5 in the back or 4. A lot of his underlying numbers are up there amongst the top 10 in a lot of categories. Obviously, he leads all defenders in goals with 3, but he's got 5 shots on goal. Only Guardiola has more than that. He's in the top 10 in expected assists, his XFPL, attempted assists. So he's got some nice underlying numbers. But so there is a flip side to this, same as his teammate.
So you guys might be sitting there, or people listening saying, Dave, are you really going to recommend a defender on a team that hasn't had a clean sheet the entire season?
Are you, Dave?
The answer to that is yes, I am. And so it's actually one of my areas for encouragement, because have you seen who they've played so far? They have played Arsenal, Chelsea, Villa, City, Brentford, Liverpool, Newcastle so far. Now, their next 7 games, Palace, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, West Ham, Ipswich, Leicester. That's actually 8 games. That is a really good schedule,
That's
right?
Nice.
Right?
Very nice.
I think there's a better chance for them to keep clean sheets. But beyond that, and this kind of goes for Cunha too, since their schedule's so good for a long time, he's kind of could be a set-it-and-forget-it guy for you. And again, he's cheap. He's only, $4.5 million, 4.6. So that could allow you to address some other areas on your team, especially like if you have Gabriel, maybe a nice time to drop him, save over $1.5 million, and use that to strengthen your squad elsewhere. He's also, and because I also have this guy on my team, he's a good pivot from some other people that are around his price point and some other highly owned defenders. Like the Villa guys, they have a tough schedule coming up. Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea are 3 of their next 4. So if you have Digne, if you have Konsa, he could be a good guy to jump to. If you have Mazraoui, he's 12% owned, basically the same price. I don't know what his injury status is at the moment. He came off in the last game, but could be a good guy to jump to. If you have any of the guys that are like underachieving, like Diogo Dalot, Christian Romero, Wout Faze, who for some reason is still 13% owned. Someone explain that one to me.
He's cheap. I think he's 4.1 million.
He is, but I don't understand.
I have him. I have him on my bench.
But like if you have him, I think you should jump over to Ait-Nuri. He's 4.2.
4.2.
William Saliba is 23% owned, and frankly, he hasn't been that great lately. He actually has the exact same number of fantasy points over the last 5 weeks as me.
Got him.
So this one is not as complicated as his teammate, but he's consistently involved going forward. He's got 3 goals. He's cheap. He's got a great schedule. So if you need to shake up your defense and save some money, jump over to Rayan Ait-Nuri like I did.
I love it.
Good news for you. I do need to do that, so I might steal that.
No. So you can't have him.
Okay, well,
we have to have different players. I don't know if you heard me.
No, I can do what I want. I'm ahead of you.
Sean just picks up our players and then lies to us about who he's captaining.
Maybe you can accidentally captain him.
Yeah, we can talk about it in a second. Everyone
we will.
relax. Everyone
Don't
relax.
you worry.
All right, so I'm sticking on the goalie train. Phil, you threw me off my groove.
I like
Phil's
it, Phil.
pointing at me,
Sorry.
guys. Phil's sending me into a loop. I can't do too many things at once. Okay, so Sels. That's who I'm talking about, Matz Sels. That's the goalie that I have had. Dave, I think you've had him most of the season.
I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the reason I want to bring him up is because I actually am going to go with a strategy here that involves Sels and the guy I just talked about, Kelleher. So Sels is a great cheap option, right? I think everyone probably knows that at this point. I've used him all season, and he's tied for first with Onana on points. It's 42.
Onana,
What's my name?
Oh,
What's my name?
Oh, damn.
Wow.
It's okay though.
It's just wow.
His XP, we're killing it. His XFPL is 36.97, so he's obviously above that. I mean, I consider that pretty good, and he's played every minute of every game so far. The difference between him and Onana, he costs 4.6 million, slightly above Kelleher. Onana costs 5 million. He is the cheapest option of any of the top 5 points goalies, so I think that's obviously a really good reason to just get him without anything else, as he's a cheap option at the top of the list. Forest, some people may say the problem is with the team, right? Forest is not bad, but they're not great. But I think they're in 7th place. They've proven so far that they have a solid enough defense to give you a lot from out of Sels each week. I think they've lost 1 game. I think they've tied 4 and they've won 4.
Correct.
Yeah, so they've lost 1 game. I mean, it's pretty solid defense. And again, goalies are great and they do a lot, but at the same time, a lot of what you're depending on is a good performance from that defense for the week.
They've only given up more than 1 goal once.
Exactly, which is why he's where he is on a on that team, right? Because I think they're performing at a really high level. So projection-wise, he's only projected 20.4 over the next 6 game weeks. That's 12th amongst goalies. Don't love that. Their schedule does get pretty hard. They've had an easy schedule to start the season. So they have an Arsenal game coming up in week 12, which is obviously going to be very difficult. But that's where I'm going to employ this strategy where I'm going to use these 2 goalies together for very cheap, right? So I got a goalie at, what did I say, 4.6 and then 4.4 for Kelleher. So I have both of those guys on my team now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Kelleher for the next 3 weeks. We just talked about how easy that schedule is. Get Sels past that Arsenal game. And then, assuming Allison comes back, I have Sels to throw back in against Ipswich. That gets me 4 weeks. And then at that point, you're really going to have to start thinking about what you want to do because they get City, they get United, and that schedule is pretty tough going forward. They really don't have a lot of easy games. So, at that point, figure out what to do. But for the next 4 weeks, that's a very cheap and good goalie option. And even if you don't want to play Kelleher those 3 games, play Sels and then use Kelleher in that Arsenal game. So that's pretty much it for me, I think, for the next 4 weeks. If you don't have Sels, might be worth it to go get them. If you want to employ that strategy and get both of them, do that. If you have the transfer, that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, I think Matz Sels is outproven himself already. He's a proven good goalie. I think he's someone that you should pick up if you're looking for a cheap option.
Agreed.
El Matador.
So for my last guy, I'm going to go with also a Nottingham Forest player, Murillo. He's a center back for that team. Now he's extremely cheap, I think, for what he's put out there. I'm kind of become big on creating a solid back line, and I think if you play up the matchups correctly, they actually easily rack up points for you. And at the beginning of the season, I didn't believe it, but now I'm pretty happy with what I'm building back there. Now, Nottingham Forest is the second best defensive team of the EPL right now. Kind of goes hand in hand with what Sean just said about Sels. Obviously, they've had easier fixtures, and they're getting a very tough stretch. I think it goes beyond the next 6 games.
It does.
It's like 8 games that are pretty tough.
Very long time.
But after that,
yeah.
Wait 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Wait 8 weeks, and they get a very, very, very easy stretch of games where I think they're going to get shutouts. He is kind of an offensive, defensive player, especially on set pieces, so he always has chances of getting you a return there. So I'm not going to tell you to go pick him up right now because they could get slammed in these upcoming weeks, no doubt. However, they have been a good defensive team, so I could also see them, maybe only giving up 1 goal against one of those tougher opponents or even winning. They seem just like a solid team all around. But at such a cheap option right now, I think it is 4.5. Thank you. He could be worth picking up, especially if you have some budget room there. And then after this 8-week stretch, he's going to be an easy lock where you can just put him in and forget about.
I mean, their schedule is tough, but there's still some spots where you can use him. They play West Ham and Newcastle at home. Those are I'll call them neutral matchups. Not great, but not terrible. Then Arsenal, but then they get Ipswich. You can use them there. I mean, you can use them against Man United in game week 15. So there's still some times where you definitely will be able to use them.
You just need to think about it and keep an eye out on him because...
Just make sure you have defenders that have good matchups when they play City and Arsenal.
Yeah, I think they play 6 out of the top 7 teams right now in the next 9 weeks. So
yeah, they got Villa and Brentford in there too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was good. Let's do a quick.
That was great.
That was great.
That was fantastic.
They're great. Name the cereal.
Cheerios.
Okay, well, I think Phil actually didn't know it, and you're just being a jerk. So
correct.
Okay, summary. Dave, go back through your 2 guys. What do you think about them? Up, down, leave them?
My Wolves favorites, Cunha and Ait-Nuri. I think they both can become set it and forget it players for you, given their extended good schedule, allowing you to focus on other areas of your team. Cunha's got an interesting diverse statistical profile, and Ait-Nuri likes to score goals.
All right. I love that. For me, it was Kelleher from Liverpool and Matz Sels from Nottingham Forest. For me, they are both a get. I think Kelleher is going to be really good over the next 3 weeks. Go get him. And Matz Sels has been good all season. So go get him just in general. Even if you don't want to play him every week, he is the best cheap option there is.
And mine too, number 1 is honeymoon phase Rashford with a new coach there. He has the potential. He could turn things around. Just keep an eye out for him. And then Murillo from Nottingham Forest, second best defensive team right now. Some tough fixtures coming up, but at a cheap price, he's a pretty good pickup.
Love it. Love it. So that's the quick summary. Now, let's just touch quickly on our teams, how we performed this week. I'm going to go first because I did finish first. And these guys don't get mad at me. I'll say
Cheater.
Okay, first of all, no cheating.
It is cheating. It's literally cheating.
I'll say what
You're
happened.
cocky all week about a player, and then
we can let the people decide, okay? The people can comment on the video, comment and tell me.
What about the people that captain Kovacic because they listen to you? What do you have to say to them?
I have to say I tried to do it too, and it was a bad pick.
You're not apologizing?
Can you just let me get to the point? Sure. I'm going to get there.
Fine.
Don't be mad because I beat you.
Fine.
Okay?
Yeah, check the standings.
All right, so after game week 9, Phil is still in first. We'll put these stats up for everyone who's watching on YouTube. Phil's in first. I'm in second. Dave continues to be in third. Sorry, Dave. I had to do it to you, though.
It's okay.
Phil has 377 points. I have 370. Dave has 329. So this week, I finished with 84 points. The average was 54 points. So beat the average. We continue to do that as a group.
If you want to do it, listen to us.
So last week, if you remember, I chose Kovacic as my captain. Obviously, he didn't perform. I was unaware that if you don't captain a player before any of the games start, you can no longer do it. So I attempted to do it after, and it gave me the confirmation, but obviously it didn't go through. So learn my lesson. You have to do it before any of the games start on the weekend. So my captain reverted to Mbumo, which was amazing for me. The boys are not happy. But I got 30 points from Mbumo. That's the best week I've had from any player so far. I got 13 from Wood. I got 10 from Palmer. I got 6 from Haaland, 7 from Digne, 6 from Lewis, 5 from Sels. Those were the best players I got. And I finished with 84. And apologies to anyone out there who did captain Kovacic, because I did try it. I messed it up. He didn't have a good week. Apologies. Phil, go for it as the second place person this week.
I ended up with 78 points, so pretty happy with that because I did captain the player I said I would captain. And I am adjusting my team a bit. I'm kind of changing the strategy, trying to find really the perfect team that I will go over in a few weeks here once I get a few more transfers. But I used my, what's it called? The anytime transfer?
Free hit.
The free hit.
Yeah.
So I was able to get Salah and Mbumo, Palmer with Haaland, Jackson on my team. Obviously, all of them performed, so I think that gave me a big boost, but that is going to be the end goal for my team. So still rocking with Jackson, Haaland, Salah is my core guys, and Digne, who's been solid too.
And you picked him, and that's why I went and got him, so thank you for that. That was a great pick.
Cap.
Dave?
Must be nice to just stumble into points. But I got 20 from Cole Palmer. I captained him, so that went well. Digne 7, my boy Ait-Nuri with 6. He scored. Eze, maybe trending up here, 6 points. He did get an assist, so nice. I've been waiting for some output from him, but the rest of the squad was pretty underwhelming after that. Everybody only had basically 1 or 2 points. So I do have some changes I need to make in this coming week. Need to know if Dwight McNeil is going to play or not.
Same. I also need to know that.
That's kind of going to affect what I do. I also have Diogo Jota, who's definitely not going to play. I have Gabriel, so I need to make some changes.
I have 3 injuries as well, so I feel you on that.
I don't have any.
All right. So let's just end it off with captain, vice captain.
Me. Can I go first?
Yeah, Phil, go for it, buddy.
I'm going to go with Mohamed Salah, just because they play Brighton. We've talked about how bad their defense has been in previous episodes, so I think that's a good matchup for my Egyptian boy. So I'm captaining him, and I will vice captain Mbumo.
Nice. Dave?
I'm going to captain Cole Palmer against Man United. Still, I'm not totally set on that, and I'm going to vice captain Phil Foden against Bournemouth. I might switch that, but for now, Cole Palmer is my captain.
Yeah, I am struggling because I do have a lot of injuries, so I can't captain McNeil right now, and I can't captain Wood because I just don't know if they're playing. So if we're basing it off of today, I am going to leave my captain on Mbeumo. Actually, look, my Kovacic captain is now switched because I had said it, so now it's on Kovacic. So I'm doing it right now. Mbeumo, make captain, and my vice captain will be Haaland, and I will save my team.
Ooh, Mbeumo over Haaland.
Yeah, I watched that Haaland game, and he had a goal. It wasn't a great goal, and he just missed a bunch of chances. They won 1-0. It just doesn't look like the same team. So I'm going to ride with the guy who keeps performing, even if it's on penalties. I don't care.
Can't argue with that.
So, yeah, that's it. The last thing we'll say, I guess, is, if you're out there and you're listening, listen to us anywhere on Spotify or anywhere where you listen to podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, etc. If you're watching us on YouTube, Fireside FPL is a channel. Same place you'll find us on all those listening apps. And yeah, leave comments on the video. Please leave some comments. Let us know how we're doing. If you have feedback, if you want to talk, whatever it is. Like the video. Subscribe. That's all free. We'd really appreciate it. And anything else from YouTube before we go?
Negative.
No? All right. And then with that, I guess, see ya.
See ya.
Bye.